Let me say a word or two about the commissioner. He was appointed by Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger some years ago now, in 2007. The commissioner is a graduate of the FBI Academy, has a long history in law enforcement, started in his near his hometown of Pacific Grove as a traffic officer, and he had a vision that he wanted to be with the CHP. Soon thereafter, just a year after his time with Pacific Grove, he moved right into the CHP. And we're honored that he's here today with us, and Commissioner, welcome, and thank you for coming.
Let's see if I can get this thing to... Everybody hear me okay? And thank you very much for letting me come down here. I actually have all these prepared notes and speeches that one of the staff members spent a lot of time writing. But I can tell you right now, I don't think I need it, because I look out in this group right here, and I see some old friends and some familiar faces, and I see a lot of people who really do the same thing that we do. They try to make a living, and they try to do it as safe as they possibly can. And that's what your organization is all about. And my message really here today is very simple. It's just to say thank you for the hard work that you do. Thank you for the service that you provide to people in the state of California. Thank you for the professional manner in which you deliver your service. And before I start and I get into some of the things I wanted to talk about, is that I know Veterans Day is coming up very quickly. And it's a very meaningful holiday for me and my family. And I wanted to know if we have any veterans in this room here today. If you are, would you please stand up? Please be recognized. Thank you very, very much. Never forget our veterans, and thank you very much for your service. And, thank you for allowing me to come down here. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I'll tell you, yesterday I was playing with my grandson, Vincent. He's 4 years old. He's got this little track, and he's got a lot of little cars, those marble cars, and that sort of thing. And somehow, it wasn't by my choice, it was by chance. I was playing with the bus, and he had a patrol car. And I was pushing the bus around and all that. And apparently I was going too fast. And he said, "Papa," he says, "you're going too fast." He says, there's people on board. You have to slow down. I thought that was pretty neat. He's 4 years old. He says, "I'll drive fast." He's got the patrol car and he was doing this the whole time. So he's got it right already. He understands the difference, and he understands what my point was. 4 years old, going on 5. He already understands your industry. He already understands that your cargo is about people, transporting people from point A to point B in a very safe and a very efficient manner. And he gets it. And there's not a person in this room that doesn't get that. And that's why I chose to come down here and want to thank you. Because I worry about a lot of things in my world. Ultimately, I'm responsible for the safety of 38 million people who live and reside and come to California for recreation and for vacations. It's my responsibility to make sure that they get home safely. I worry about a lot of things. I worry about distracted driving. I worry about drunk drivers. I worry about people that text and use their cell phones and use drugs while they drive. I worry about the aggressive driver. People are always in a hurry, the speeders, the people who do things that they're not supposed to do that cause havoc in California. I can tell you one thing I don't worry about, is I don't worry about you. I don't worry about you at all, because you represent what is good and what is pure, and I wish somehow we could get the rest of your industry in this room here today, so I could talk to 100% of the industry, not just the best of the best. Because when we talk about safety, I'm really preaching to the choir. You all get it. There's not a person in this room that doesn't believe in operating safely. And that's why I wanted to be here, and that's why our comparison is the same. Because if you think about it, for all of you in this room, we are so similar. Is that we, with the California Highway Patrol, And you and the California Bus Association, your industry, it is about safety. So you go out about your daily business trying to recruit good quality people that you can bring into your discipline like we do. And then you train them, you try to educate them, and then you give them a job. You have people who maintain your vehicles. You buy the best equipment you possibly can. I know we have vendors and manufacturers in here who build the best equipment to make your job more easy, more efficient, more effective. Then you put these drivers out there, you put your buses out there loaded with people, and you have to drive the same elements that we drive. Very crowded freeways, congested freeways. You drive in some of the times the best, but also the worst weather that you could possibly predict. It rains, it hails, sometimes it snows. Sometimes you're out in the middle of nowhere, there's dust storms. And then you're surrounded by all the people I just told you I was worried about. People who drive too fast, they drive too slow. Everybody wants to be in front of you. Nobody wants to be behind you because they think you go too slow. They cut you off, they speed, they do things, they honk at you. And you're out there with every single one of them in a state where 95% of the people think they're excellent drivers. They're out there with you, and you're kind of doing your thing. And what's unique about all that, especially for those of you that own your companies, you manage these companies, you're the person in charge, the buck stops with you. You do something that we do every single day is that you train people and you get them ready to go. And then just like us, you are the least supervised people in the entire world. Because you let the drivers like we do, they drive out the gate, and you got to trust them. Your name is on the side of this bus. Mine doesn't have my name, but you kind of know what the car looks like. It's black and white. And everybody in the world knows what that means. They know about your buses, your company's name is on it. And everything they do is a reflection of you. All the good, as well as all the bad. And what's nice about this group right here is most of the time, almost all the time, you get it right. And your drivers get it right. And I know you have an awards dinner here, I think it's tomorrow, and then the night after. You're going to have a driver of the year. Somebody that you voted upon, somebody who recommended this person. Some criteria you use, but I would imagine, and I have no idea who it is, nor did I see the criteria, nor do I know what they did, but I would suspect they have a long tenured career as a driver, probably have not been involved in an accident, probably doesn't have a whole bunch of tickets that we can count up and then look at, probably doesn't have any, probably have driven millions of miles accident-free, complaint-free, and they've done their job. That's what you should be most proud of. Are the individuals in your industry that do that on a day-to-day basis. But once they go out, and they don't need any supervision. They don't need anybody sitting in the shotgun chair and telling, hey, slow down, do this, do that. They just do it by instinct and they do it by design because they've been trained to do that. You've hired the best people. That's what we ask in our industry. So we bring in people that we believe have common sense, they have good skills that we can build upon, that we can train and educate to go out and do this job. Because like you, us, we send officers out. There isn't a sergeant in the car. There's nobody else in the car. There's nobody in there telling them, well, you should do this, you shouldn't do that. We trust them to go out and do this job. And for the most part, they get it right. Sometimes they don't. And when they don't get it right, then we deal with it, we deal with the issue, we try to correct it, we try to learn, we try to do a little bit better. I can tell you what hurts us is probably the same thing that may hurt you sometimes, is we're going through a statewide training right now with our officers. And we call it below 100. It's a fancy term, but basically just says is we need to be safer. And the below 100 means in the United States of America, there's about 250 law enforcement officers killed every single year. And the 100 it's never been below 100 since they started looking at the stats. And so they came up with this catchy term to say we got to get below 100. Once we get below 100, we'll go down to 0. But what we looked at when we started looking at how these officers were killed, yes, some of them are shot. Yes, some of them were violently injured by an assault. But most of them that died, they died because of complacency. They died because they're driving too fast. And sometimes they die because they're over-familiar or they think they're over-familiar with incidents. They take a chance, they take a risk, they forget the common sense approach sometimes, and they pay with their lives. In your industry, That's where you sometimes are going to have to really look at yourself, and you have to understand that. Because when we go back and we look at some of these horrific collisions that you see across the nation, speed, fatigue, overfamiliarity, and a risk that should never have been done. Because you trained them. Your buses are maintained. You got good people in there. You've done everything to prepare. But most of the time, you're going to go back. It's not going to be mechanical. It's going to be that the driver erred in one of those places. And that's what we teach our people. We talk, we teach, we talk, we teach. And that's the message that I think that all of us in this room, if you understand and hear that, that's where you're most vulnerable. Because I don't think anybody in this room wants to suffer or have it happen to you where you open up the front page of the paper and there's a bus upside down. That doesn't do anyone any good. And when that does happen, all of you are victimized by that because the public, in their very nature, because they don't understand. They paint you with the same brush as the person that didn't. And that's what we have to work on. We have to eliminate that the best we possibly can. And that's why, like I said, I was here today, is that your industry is so good. You just at times have some of these celebrity type incidents that people have to deal with. But in this room right here, you're the best of the best. You do it right, you do it right every single day, and I think that's the most important thing that we can realize. And so what I want to tell you is this, is after 40 years, you've had this organization, 40 years of camaraderie, 40 years of cooperation, 40 years of working together, trying to make your industry the best that you could possibly make it. 40 years, and if you think about it, some of the people in this room, you actually compete against each other. Yet your friends, your colleagues, you have a shared vision, you know what you're trying to do, you're trying to make your industry the best that it possibly can be. So little kids like Vincent, when they start playing around with a bus and they start driving this bus on a little board game, he's quick enough and he understands that you are a professional and that your cargo is extremely important. And at 4 years old, he knows this thing is supposed to be upright, it's supposed to drive safe, because you have people inside of those vehicles. That's what your industry is doing. That's what you're doing as you work together. Because he didn't learn that from me. And he didn't learn the fact that the cop car is upside down and it's doing this and all that. He learns that from TV. But the important part about it is that he gets it. And he understands it. And next year, I know it's not part of your discipline, but he's going to be on a school bus. And trust me, I regulate the school bus industry. And those things are going to be safe, and they're going to be ready to go. And we're going to make sure, just the same way that we want your industry to be safe. So that's my message. That's what I came down here to do. I flew down here just with that message. I think that what you do is great. You provide a great service for the people of this great state. I encourage you to keep up the hard work, the good work that you do on a day-to-day basis. I wish someday, the next time I come down here, you'll have the other 75% of the bus companies in this room, because I think they can learn from your professionalism, and they can learn from your mentorship, and they can learn from who you are and what you represent, and it's all good. Thank you very much for letting me come down here.